My name is Nicole Miller. I'm an artist. This work here I made specifically for this space, and it started out with the production of the soundscape. So really the backbone of this installation is this 23-track surround sound, particularly because I'm working with young people. Like, it's been this sort of mission for me to try to find a way to position viewers to young people, specifically young people of color in America. This piece is a bit of an inverted film where the score is the sort of film and the moving image is more like the soundtrack. And so really the sort of narrative arc that's happening in the space is the soundscape. And so everything else that we worked on sort of radiated from the sound work. We have a sound, a signal, and the circus. And so the sound is the 23-track sound installation, and then a signal is this 4-laser animation installation that's projected on the back wall. And the circus sort of represents the 3 television screens in the space.
Nicole Miller's installation, A Sound, A Signal, The Circus, explores synesthesia, so it looks at sort of different forms of expression and articulation, and how that sort of relates to the experience of being alive, or what it feels like to have a body.
This woman, Precious, she read out loud to me this incredible poem that very specifically was about the body and her experience of like having trauma happen to her body at a young age, and it being translated through this sort of beautiful language she's developed as a poet. And that has become one of my favorite parts of the whole work at this point.
Different conversations just happened, and all of a sudden I was across from Nicole Miller, and so she has some of my poetry as part of the installation. The phrase "here and now" is coming up, and that phrase comes from Nicole Miller's meditation on what it means for like youth of color, particularly like Black youth, to be brilliant in the here and now and to like value their contributions now versus what we can put into them to be these people in the future.
I think this exercise of like withholding some things that I'm triggering people in the space to think about is really important, like the bodies, and also the circus. That you have this idea of the circus in the space, but there is no circus in the space. But you do have people that you can see rehearsing for different kinds of circuses. It's a kind of a space of becoming, like the rehearsal space. And so all the people that you're seeing and hearing, I'm hoping that you're thinking about them in terms of like people that are ever changing and not sort of static in their identities.
The idea or concept behind Kemper Live Here and Now is really thinking about how Nicole Miller describes the process of creative articulation as something of like a process of becoming. So looking at artists sort of in spaces of rehearsal and performance rather than the final product. And I think live arts especially are an important way to sort of capture that in the museum space. One, it activates the museum space and sort of challenges the idea of the museum as a static archive through these durational or sort of ephemeral experiences, and in doing so I think challenges the sort of expectations of how one should behave in the space or in the presence of a work of art. And Nicole Miller's project really does that too. You're really sort of, a visitor is sort of implicated in the soundscape and sort of invited to sort of move around and be an active participant rather than a sort of passive spectator.
Particularly with Miller's themes like about identity and transformation and body and youth-centered power, like all those themes converging, like what does that sound like? I don't know. And I think that's so cool. I love not knowing. If people can leave feeling more possible than they did coming in, I think that'll be a huge triumph.